Hi, Grela. We're so happy to have you. Do you mind introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about your experience, in the design world and how you ended up at Design Miami?
Sure. Well, we're really happy to have you too, so welcome to the fair.
Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure working with you. I'm so excited about what you're doing. I'm Grela, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Design Miami Fairs. And I wound up here in a very circuitous way, but there's always a thread that's gone through everything I've done, which is that it's about putting a group of people together to actually have an end result that is magical. So I started in the fashion business. I went into television, then I worked in rock and roll for a while. And then I started a company with my now husband that did really large corporate events and films. And we did that for many years and then decided that we wanted to make films that were more meaningful to us. So we started a company where, he now, because I'm a little busy here, but making documentaries about contemporary art and design and artists.
Wow.
Because we love the narrative and we love the story that someone has to tell, because everyone has one. And the way we wind up at that story is really always fascinating to me. So I wound up in the art fair business also in a very circuitous way, because I was asked to curate some video shows because people thought as a filmmaker that I understood video art. And one thing has nothing to do with the other really, except that we happen to have collected video art. So it worked out. And I did a lot of curation, and then I was offered a job at an art fair, which was an incredible learning experience. And the end goal was always to be here. I love design. I love the way design makes you feel. I love that we live with it, because you could live without art essentially, but you always do sit on a sofa or sleep in a bed or turn on a light. So it was really special for me, and it was, a long journey, but this is where I wound up, where I've always meant to be, and it's always been my favorite fair, and now for the last several years, I'm fortunate that I run them.
Well, it's certainly always been my favorite fair too, so It's an absolute thrill to be here.
Could you just tell us a little bit about Design Miami's curatorial theme for this year, 2023?
Sure. Since the pandemic, things have sort of been changing. The way that people communicate, the way that people convene, the way that people are with each other. And we thought that this year having a theme that is where we stand is very timely, based on everything that's happening in the world and how we come together to talk about it, to do whatever we could to help it. And so our theme is where we stand, from our brilliant curatorial director, Anna Karnick, who we also work with. She is our editorial director for our Forum magazine. So she's a brilliant writer. She is an American curator based in Berlin. So she has also different perspectives to bring to the table. So we have a theme that runs through the fair, and any gallery that has a piece in their booth that really, really responds to this theme, we have a marker next to it so that the gallery can have a conversation, or the designer can have a conversation with the guest as to why they think that responds to where we stand. And where we stand can be as simple as, I stand this way politically, or I stand this way about my community. And it is just about gathering. That's why we have the pieces outside by Lara Bohank, that it's about sitting together and chatting and outside. And the Miami Design District is one of our partners, and they commissioned her to do the district and also the fair. So it's a theme that means a lot to us. We have two special projects at the front. One is called the Book of Love, and it's a fundraiser for the right to read, because so many books are being banned, and that's just essentially unacceptable. So we've asked many designers to make a work on paper that responds to that, and those are for a foundation, a charitable foundation for the right to read. And then across at the entrance, we have a piece by Nefemi Marcus Bello. Nefemi Marcus Bello is a Lagos-based designer who has created a piece that exemplifies the journey that undocumented immigrants make by having salt coming out of the piece to represent the salt water that everyone has to traverse. And then coal comes out of the piece also, leaving a mark on the wall representing his people. It's really quite powerful, but in a very subtle way. And it's at our entrance. So we're really happy of the way everyone has responded to where we stand, because we all do stand somewhere.
Love that. One of our taglines that we like to use is "We all have walls." So similar concept.
And we do all have walls. And you know, what you're doing is really special, because when is the last time that we heard that paint, you know, had to do with wellness and healing? And if every aspect of what we do has an element of that, it just makes the cohesive whole just that much better for everyone. We know that there is wellness in scent, and that there's wellness, you know, there's so many other industries that are involved, but what you're doing just really impressed me when I saw what you were doing, and I thank R & Company for introducing us, and I thank you for coming on board. But people are feeling it when they come here, and they come into this room, and it's not just that that's the color of the wall and that we mix these beautiful colors together, but something about it, the fact that it's non-toxic and the fact that it's sustainable, it just is a feeling, and people, we hope, will know it, but if they don't, they'll still get it.
Well, in that vein, we know that one of the themes for this particular space we're sitting in, the Collector's Lounge, is biophilic design. And I'd love to understand what that means to you.
Well, the fact that design can respond to nature, and design can respond to the world at large, and just wellness in general is really important to us. But I think that that's, you know, Alexis really came on board and looked at it, and even where the walls are placed, and how the furniture is placed, and you know, how our tables are round so that everyone sits around each other, is really quite important. And then we've got Oliver Pelle's lighting, which is all also inspired by nature. I mean, look at it. So it all came together in that way, you know, that we were all inspired by it, but all in a different way, and also all in a very subtle way. It wasn't like we sat down and said, we have to do something that's like this. It wasn't like that. It just comes together when you put the right group of people together, which is why I enjoy what I do, because it's my job, is to put the right people together, and then the magic will happen. So it just will.
Exactly. I mean, I love seeing those iterations of the, you know, kind of sketches of the Everglades, and then having it become more abstract, and then, you know, coming out of that to like create these beautiful arrangements and schematics, just inspired by that. I mean, we always like to just say, like, you know, nature is the best artist.
Yeah. And you know, nature takes the course it needs to take, right? It pivots when it needs to, and we have to learn from that. It's like if a tree can't go around this way, it's going that way, right? It just, and we do the same. And that's, you know, when you put a wonderful team of creatives together, and everyone's goal is to get on the same page, we will pivot 10 times. I mean, you know, we make magic for a living, right? So no one knows what went into it and what we didn't do, but the end result is what matters, and that's what we offer our guests. So I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud of this team, and hope to do it again.
Could you just share a little bit about your experience with using Alkemis Paint? I mean, you touched on it a little bit, but just tell us about your, kind of give us your feedback and experience.
Well, you guys were lovely in the way that you also sent samples in advance so that we could sort of feel what this paint was going to be like, because, you know, no two paints are alike, and we had never worked with this paint. And when we got it, it had this texture, and it had this, a way that it goes onto the wall that is slightly different than other paints, so we really enjoyed that. And for me, the funnest part was to get your book of colors and just lay them all out on the conference room table, and just start choosing colors that complemented each other and that conversed with each other. And at the office, it's like the joke of everyone. It's like, Grela was just, it was just all out there. Because you sent us a big one, which is great. And I have it with me in a folder, like every color that, and I laid them all out to make. I had meetings with USM, with the Talks Theater, and I took it with me. Meetings with Alexis, you know, meetings with Michaels. We really took it all the way. It wasn't just, here's a booklet. We really studied it all together. And I think the colors all came together really well. The experience that Alexis tells me he had with his painters working with it is exquisite. I'm sure he'll tell you more. And as I was saying to you guys earlier when you arrived, because all our public spaces, the largest spaces, have this feeling, all the galleries sort of came on board and people started choosing colors. You walk through the fair and it's quite curated and cohesive, and it was all very organic.
Wow.
So it just works out.
Magic happened and it just infiltrated throughout the space.
It's serendipitous the way things work out sometimes. And
absolutely.
and someone that you'll say, do you mind doing it this way instead? I mean, that's part of curation, having conversations with people to make one tweak. They're bringing something brilliant, but with one more tweak, it becomes exceptional. And that happened, you know, and it happens when we take the time to all work together.
Exactly.
So,
it really coalesces all together when you have that last little.
Yeah.
And people all moving in the same direction has this like energetic exponentiality that I don't know how to explain, but I feel like there are different moments in time where you see that happen when people are all marching towards the same goal. Grela, can you tell us what your favorite Alkemis paint color is and why?
That's a tough question.
One.
It's a really tough question because your palette is so specific to all just mix and match in such a wonderful way. There's no two paints that you can't put together from your palette that don't work together, which is really odd, but really wonderful. My favorite color is chartreuse and my other favorite color is eggplant. And I've done so many projects that way, and you have iterations of both of those that are so special, but not quite those colors, that actually opened my eyes to other ways to take that palette. So I can't really pick a favorite color, but I would say that anything in the greens I find very calming, because it brings the indoors and outdoors, you know, together. And but I love them all. I really have to say that what you've done is really special. I don't know how you did it. That's a question I'll have for you at some point, because it was unexpected. When I got it, I didn't expect it to be that way. And at first I was like, oh, okay. How do we do this? But then, again, serendipitous, you saw our branding. Our branding colors were also very much like that, jewel tones and colors that you don't expect to see together, but did. And so it was a really fun process to choose the colors for all the different spaces.
Well, it's really interesting to be able to only use 11 natural pigments, you know, oxides and ochres that occur naturally from the earth, and to be able to make, you know, this extended comprehensive palette of all of those colors.
Wow, there's only okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's pretty
amazing.
fun. Yeah.
Well, kudos, because, you know, they say that there's billions of colors, but most of them, I mean, you know, speak to a lighting director for 2 minutes and they'll tell you there's a billion colors, but only 4 work.
Yeah.
You just have to do something with those 4.
Stick to the basics.
So you're, okay, you've just confirmed it's 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
It all came from those 11 pigments.
That's wonderful.
So just in general, you know, kind of from a psychological perspective, and mental health, wellness, how do you feel that color, you know, informs us and affects us as humans?
Well, you know how they do those studies where in hospitals colors are certain ways because they're calming, and in schools they're supposed to be a different way because they're energizing and inspiring and stimulating. I think that what color does, whether you know it or not, is give you a certain feeling when you walk in a space. And depending on what you do with that space, it could be calming or it could be scary. I mean, you know, the color black, you could do something very sexy with it, or you could do something very ominous with it. So it all depends what you do with it as well within the setting. But color does do something to you, and we just have to let it. And those of us that are controlling the environments when we have that opportunity to do that just have to take that into account. You know, we wanted this room to be welcoming, but also to be quite business-like, and at the end, a little sexy. So, and I think that that was accomplished, you know, with everyone coming together with this furniture, with this paint, with this lighting. So that's what color does. Meantime, my wardrobe's entirely black.
Sounds like a true New Yorker.
A uniform, because we travel a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Amazing. Thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you,
the time.
ladies.
We are
I
so
really,
grateful.
You have no idea how happy we are to have you here, and I hope your week is just really inspiring, and that you just have lovely conversations with everybody. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.